Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I navigated my own emotions and mood swings to avoid postpartum depression after the delivery of my baby. My name is Olufumi Odumoagun and I am a homemaking enthusiast. I share different types of homemaking content that can change the trajectory of your home and your family for good and change your own life for good as well. So this issue of postpartum depression is something that is not readily or easily talked about, especially amongst Black people and even religious people. People kind of hide under a lot of things and avoid talking about this issue. But with my experience with my own self and a lot of other friends I've had around me that has had babies, I would say it clearly that the issue is a very serious one and it is very real. In fact, it is estimated that about 20% of women experience postpartum depression. And I'm not even talking about baby blues. So baby blues are like postpartum depression symptoms that last for a short period. That is, it's not very severe, it doesn't last long. And about 80% of women experience baby blues. That means after your baby, you might have negative feelings at one point or the other. And if you do not manage it properly, it could lead to postpartum depression. So like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be sharing how I navigated my own experiences and my emotions to avoid it escalating into postpartum depression. And I will also be sharing other experiences from close friends and people that have shared their experiences that I know about as well. So that we don't get lost, I'm going to just briefly share what postpartum depression is. Postpartum depression is basically a severe form of depression that occurs after a mother has given birth to a baby, and it is characterized by several typical symptoms of depression like withdrawal from family and friends, low moods, anxiety, not wanting to hang out with friends and families, not wanting to relate with people, withdrawal from previous hobbies, and lots more. But for PPD, that's postpartum depression, there are some other key features like not wanting to bond with your baby that you have just had, or even wanting to harm your baby or yourself, knowing fully well that you had to be in good state to take care of your baby. So I'm going to be talking about the causes of postpartum depression using my own experiences and experiences of many women, especially Africans and religious people, Christians, Muslims, and people who generally believe in God. So firstly, I would say that most postpartum depression issues start from our emotions. The way we perceive ourselves, the way we think, things that people say to us after having our baby are one of the primary triggers for postpartum depression or baby blues, which I consider the younger sister of postpartum depression. So in my own case, I remember that I had expectations for my birth, and this happens to a lot of women. So you spent your pregnancy having a certain expectation of how you want to have your baby. Maybe you by all means want to have vaginal delivery, or you didn't expect that you have tears and so many other things like that. But a lot of women end up experiencing things that they were not expecting during labor and during delivery. For example, you didn't plan to have CS and you ended up having one. I remember the disappointed faces of some of the first few people that came to greet me after I had my baby, like, oh, it was CS, I had CS for my baby, and it was CS, and I saw the disappointment on their face and like, let's shout, thank God, as if there was this thing they were communicating that you were a second-class woman, you were not a strong person, you didn't do well enough. And that in itself could start to cause a negative image in the mind of people. I know a lot of women who can testify to this, that they were really made to feel not good enough just because they had their baby through CS. And these are one of the triggers that could lead to postpartum depression. There are other factors like negative self-image, and I'll share an experience that someone said to me. I remember a friend telling me that after having a baby, she was just in the labor walking around, and the mother of someone who also had a baby saw her and said something like, so you have given birth and your stomach is still like this as if you are carrying 7 months old pregnancy. That's affected her self-image. It made her look at herself in a certain way, like seriously, so I'm not looking normal, this is not how I am supposed to look, and all those kind of things. So I'm sharing personal experiences that people might be able to relate with. There are certain things that people say post-delivery that can affect the emotions of the mother. Sometimes people make comments on what the baby looks like. Sometimes even the mother has an expectation of what you want your baby to look like. You want your baby to be so cute and lovely and everything, but they come out looking a different way from what you had expected. And sometimes newborns honestly look different or funny and would adjust with time. But at that stage, if you're not careful, these little issues can affect your emotions and your mood. I'm particularly giving these examples so that mothers who are nursing babies can reflect properly, because the beginning of avoiding depression is self-awareness, knowing your triggers, knowing why you are even feeling the way you are feeling. Many people just can't name their emotions. They just know that they don't feel good about themselves, but they can't pinpoint what exactly someone said and how that offended them or made them to feel less of themselves. Another issue that causes postpartum depression, especially amongst blacks, is the issue of support. So when we have our babies, people come to help us to take care of our babies, but sometimes many people get no support or bad support. There is bad support. So some people come to take care of your baby but neglect you while doing so. They don't help you, they don't try to get you to heal, they don't even acknowledge that you're going through pain. Maybe you've had CS, you've had tears and going through a lot of pains when you want to pee, when you want to poo, but nobody sees you, nobody acknowledges you. Those people just focus on the baby and don't care about you. There are another set of people who come to support you but actually put you down by giving you extra work. They are not so helpful. Sometimes they sit down and even expect that you take care of them after you have just had your baby. Sometimes some of them send the so-called mother on errands that will generally not allow them to heal or make them depressed. So I don't know if you can relate with some of these experiences. So these subtle issues are things that we generally don't talk about in Africa that can cause postpartum depression. I have a friend whose mom-in-law came around to help and she was triggered emotionally for several months until the mom-in-law left, because the mom-in-law will always say things, do things to offend her and never really was helpful. And these are things that we face that cause postpartum depression. So which one do you think you can relate with amongst all of these things? And then on top of all of this, there is this scene with the baby crying, the baby requiring your attention, with you not even being able to be yourself. You can't rest, you can't sleep when you want to do it. All of these factors all together can cause postpartum depression. So another experience for me was having to walk in on someone that I trusted with my baby, treating my baby in an unacceptable, unhealthy, and unethical way that really triggered me and affected my emotions. Normally, they wouldn't do that while I was there. In fact, normally they would know that that was unacceptable by me. But because I stepped out and I was not there, the person was doing that to my baby, and I just by chance happened to walk in on that. And that really triggered me on many levels. I couldn't trust to leave my baby with anyone. I was going through PTSD. I was really stressed out because of it. I couldn't leave my baby to sleep with another person while I went away. In fact, I dealt with guilt for even trusting the person in the first place. I dealt with a whole lot of issues, and on top of it, nobody really understood what I was going through, or let me say, nobody really understood the weight of what I was going through at that moment. Another thing that causes postpartum depression is hormonal changes. The sudden drop in estrogen and progesterone has been found to also be a cause of low moods in nursing mothers. One thing I would say is, irrespective of what your experience is, irrespective of what you went through after you have had your baby or what you're going through, it is not an excuse to drown in depression. It's not an excuse to keep staying at that low mood or at that anxiety levels. And that is one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, to ensure that women are aware of these problems and begin to seek help and find help. So now I'm going to be talking about solutions and how to navigate this season so that they don't escalate into very negative moods, and how I personally navigated mine. So I remembered for me, I started to speak up, and I would say before you even speak up, the first step is self-awareness, knowing that you feel terrible, knowing that you have a feeling that is unusual or unnatural to you. You have to learn to acknowledge your emotions and stop shying away from it. Sometimes people try to talk down on us. I remember sharing my experience with certain persons and they were like, you have to accept it like that, there's nothing you can do, and that in itself made me even more depressed. But I would say that the first thing to do is be self-aware, understand that you are triggered, accept that you are triggered, stop bottling emotions, stop pretending that it's not getting to you, stop taking it in, stop thinking that you will get over it with time, stop thinking that time will heal it, because people who eventually went on to be depressed and had to take medications didn't know that it will escalate to that. So every feeling that you have, acknowledge it and start to become self-aware. If you're feeling sad, extremely hopeless, you feel that you don't like your baby, you feel like hurting your baby, you feel like harming your baby, acknowledge your feelings, put your thoughts into words, say it out. I'm not saying that do negative confession and begin to say I hate my child, no, but tell yourself, okay, this is how I am feeling right now, this is my emotions right now, this is how this person is making me to feel, I feel unsupported right now, those kind of things. Name your feelings, and this is like the first step into healing. The second thing I would say is speak up. Speak up, speak up, speak up. Don't bottle things up. Look for someone trusted that you can talk to, and that might be your mentor if you have one, it might be a trusted friend, it might be a fellow mother, maybe your antenatal body that is your friend that you can open to. Speak up to someone, because if you bottle things up, it can really lead to anxiety and a lot of emotions that are negative. So speak up with people. And I must say something, the first person that you speak up to might not understand how you're feeling. Please don't stop. Speak up until you feel comforted. Speak up until you get the support that you need. Sometimes you speak up to certain people and they shut you up. They tell you, you don't say things like that, keep it to yourself. Speak up until you get support. Speak up until you get someone who is able to hold your hand and pray with you and say, okay, I'm going to walk this journey with you. So for me, I remember speaking up to certain persons and they didn't support me as much as I would expect. I remember having to speak up to someone that could understand eventually, and that in itself gave me peace. Just speaking with somebody who understands and was able to comfort me helped me to begin to walk a journey of healing and helped me to begin to allay my fears and anxiety. Another thing I did was to also begin to seek professional help. So I spoke with someone who could really help me to begin to walk my healing journey, because one of the experiences actually had the potential of teleporting or transporting me into being depressed or being extremely anxious. But having somebody to walk the journey with me helped me to begin to heal from the effects of what that person did, and helped me to begin to draw boundaries properly and create an atmosphere where I am supported generally. Another thing I would say really helped is join support groups. If you belong to a hospital or group where people share experiences that help other people, please join and be part of it. I remembered vividly that around when I had my baby in my church, I think a whole lot of women had babies around that time. So I remember my pastor's wife organizing a new mom's hangout for us, and she even got a nanny to help us to look after our baby during that hangout. And during that hangout, I was able to speak up. We spoke about our expectations during delivery. We spoke about how to navigate the new seasons. I remember us talking particularly about having children through CS and how our society kind of condemns us, and listening to a lot of women in that circle have their babies through CS made me feel better. So it's something that you want to plug yourself into if you find something like that. And if you don't even find, it's something that you can decide to organize amongst your friends. If you have friends who have just had babies recently, schedule a hangout and have these seats together and talk about your experiences. I bet you this will really help you to feel better. Also, sometimes there are WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups that are supporting people who are going through postpartum depression. Try to join one, or even speak with someone who knows about it or who has experienced something about it. Just like the way I am verbalizing my own experience, I believe that might make some people to be able to get comfortable to speak with me about it. So if you find someone who really understands it, get comfortable with them and speak about your emotions. Let them speak healing to you. Let them support you emotionally. The third thing I want to talk about is the third level of support, or the third level of help if you are going through postpartum depression. And this is when you see that you are experiencing these symptoms of postpartum depression for periods over 2 weeks. Go and see your doctor and let your doctor refer you to a psychiatrist or to the necessary quarters so that you can begin to take medications and get better. One thing about this type of issues is the earlier you start to treat yourself, the better. The earlier you start to acknowledge your feelings, the better you will heal and the faster you will heal. If you start having thoughts that you want to harm your baby, harm yourself, or start taking alcohol, drugs, because I actually know some people who had to go through those experiences because they didn't get support. They went on to seek support with alcohol, with drugs, and it didn't end well because you begin to treat your baby anyhow, you begin to act irrationally and behave in negative ways that can affect you on the long run. So I would say seek help as early as you can. If they recommend medications to you, use them, and I'm trusting that things will get better if you are going through this. And I'm particularly hoping that people will watch this video who have not even gotten to this level yet, so that you can begin to prevent it instead of cure. There's a popular saying that prevention is better than cure. So I hope you enjoyed listening to my story and how I navigated my own emotions and mood swings when I felt really low and depressed after I have just had my baby. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you learned one thing or the other, kindly like the video and share with newborn moms that you know. And I'll say have an amazing time. Bye.